with some news that we have for you from the Indian Air Force. An Indian Air Force AN-32 transport aircraft met with an accident while landing at the airbase in Assam's Jorhat earlier today. Reports suggest the aircraft caught fire while touchdown within the airbase premises. Firefighting teams immediately rushed to the spot to carry out relief and rescue operations. Let me go across to my colleague Shinjoy, but before that we have some breaking inputs coming in at this point in time. Top sources have told Times Now that the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder are intact. This is the latest update that we have at this point in time. Shinjoy Chaudhary is joining us live right now for more on this. Shinjoy, give us more details. What have you learned from your sources?
It's very likely, is what we are hearing, that both black boxes are in reasonably good shape. Looking at the plane, at the wreckage of the plane, you would think that that is correct. Now, if that is so, and let's hope it is, then apart from the co-pilot who is recovering from his injuries, we will know exactly what happened. The co-pilot will be able to explain what happened in those final moments, and also both recorders will be able to tell you, the voice recorder and the data recorder will be able to tell you what happened in those final moments. So all this is very important. And why is it important? It's important to know what led to this. Yes, we know that the plane took off. So once the plane took off, after a few seconds it appears that the pilot wanted to land again. So there must be a reason why he would want to do that. Once he landed, and it was a hard landing, naturally it appears that he was almost out of control as he landed. Then the plane broke up, and of course the fuel tanks caught fire. The whole point is we must find out what happened. What was it that made the pilot want to come back?
Well, absolutely. And unfortunately, 5 people lost their lives as well in this particular incident. We are also joined on the broadcast by our special guest. Shinjoy, I request you to please stay on with us. We have retired Air Marshal Rajiv Sachdeva, who is IAF veteran. He's joining us live right now. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us here on Times Now. I'm being told that you understand this particular aircraft very well. You've also flown this one. Firstly, your first reaction to what has happened today in Jorhat.
See, first of all, to your viewers and everybody in the studio, let me tell you, let's not run our horses so fast. Let the cockpit voice recorder and FDR be decoded by the code of inquiry and find out what exactly happened. The few things which have been playing around since morning is about the age of an aircraft. Age is just a number for an aircraft. It is either flyable or not flyable. Okay, if the airplane is flyable, it will be offered for flying. If it is not flyable, it will not be offered for flying. So first of all, let's keep that age part aside. It's just been 40 years and all aeroplanes have been given 10 years extension after a thorough check. So aeroplanes can fly up to 50 years. So that's not an issue as far as the AN-32 is concerned. Then there was a second issue about weather. Weather on your home base where you're landing back is just not an issue because the aeroplane is belonging to Jorhat and landing back in Jorhat, and weather is just not an issue. Hydro planning was another issue which was being discussed since morning. Hydro planning will happen if there was heavy rain and an AN-32 like this which has done a heavy landing, the hydro planning thing also goes out. Fire in the air is just not visible from what has happened after seeing the crash which is being played around by you all. Fire in the air. Yes, when an aeroplane with running engines crashes like this, there is a fire in the engine which is already burning, and there is fuel around the engine because the fuel is generally in the fuel tank and the wings of the aeroplane. So that catches fire. But this is not a fire in the air incident also. Aircraft breaking into two, the way it has broken, generally happens when the aeroplane leaves the runway, which is supposed to be a paved runway. When it leaves the runway, goes into Kacha, which is not so straight, that is when normally the aeroplane breaks off. Now let's wait for the cockpit voice recorder and FDR, which is kept in the tail section and an AN-32, and it is visible that the tail section is quite intact. Once these two things are taken out, we will come to know aircraft landing back after taking off from Jorhat for Chabwa coming back is just a normal thing. That's not a very, very serious thing. If at all there was any seriousness, the pilot would have spoken to the ATC. ATC will know, cockpit voice recorder will have it, and in any case, Flight Lieutenant Manoj, co-pilot, who's having serious injuries, he will tell us what exactly happened. But the FDR will tell us why the aircraft left the runway and went off into the Kacha as what is being seen on this. So let's not hurry and let's not start doing our own court of inquiry. Let the specialists who are supposed to do the inquiry will tell us exactly what happened. So that's about all what I'm saying, because a lot of speculations go on, like the 171 which crashed. Again, a lot of speculations happened there also. Let's hold our speculations. I've been flight commander in Jorhat. I mean, for 4.5 years, I've been flight commander there. That means all the aeroplanes were flying under my signatures and my orders there. Then I commanded an AN-32 squadron. I was AOC of 2 AN-32 squadrons. I've been SASO where the AN-32s were there. In fact, my last landing in service after 39 years was in an AN-32. This aeroplane doesn't break like this unless something very serious happened, which the court of inquiry will tell us.
Well, of course, we will wait for the court of inquiry. We'll wait for the investigation to get over, and we do not really want to speculate. But going by what we've got right now, it is a cause of concern, sir, because 5 people have lost their lives. I mean, that is why we're just trying to understand what could have really gone wrong, because you're somebody who understands the plane, who understands the terrain, the entire area as well, and the circumstances in which these aircraft actually take off and land. And that is why we want to get your understanding on what could have really gone wrong, because this happened when the aircraft was attempting to land at the airbase. Can there be some problem with the terrain? I mean, what do you think?
See, Jorhat is just at about 300 feet. There is no terrain around Jorhat. From Jorhat, the aeroplanes go into terrain and fly there in the hilly area. But at Jorhat, there is no hilly area. There is no terrain at Jorhat. So that's not an issue. After landing the aircraft, if at all it has left the runway, that is what we need to investigate. Why did the aircraft leave the runway? Yes, during takeoff, a thing like this can happen on an AN-32. That aircraft can leave the runway because of a mistake which the pilots can do. But that mistake doesn't happen during landing. So why has the aircraft left the runway is what needs to be investigated. Even if there was one engine not running or engine is switched off, or still the aeroplane doesn't leave the runway like this. The pilots are trained. They've done hundreds of such practices before they actually fly the aeroplane alone. So pilot leaving a runway because of an engine failure or something like that doesn't happen. So somebody will have to investigate and tell us why did the aeroplane leave the runway. Thereafter, all this braking and fire and all is secondary issues which have happened. Aircraft leaving the runway is where we all need to stop. And rest all will be told to us by the inquiry. Yeah.
All right. We leave it there, sir. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on Times Now and sharing with us your perspective. Retired Air Marshal Rajiv Sachdeva, IAF veteran, was trying to help us understand the possible circumstances in which the aircraft could have crashed. Thank you, Shanjoy, for your inputs as well on this story.